What up, Giants? Welcome
Whoa.
to Wake Up with Giants Live.
When I move fast, my hands disappear.
Your whole body disappears.
That was awesome.
Well, Giants, we are going to do something a little different here. The live reading of the book, The Tortoise's Hair. We're not going to go through the whole thing today, so just a portion today. But just to give a minute for people to come on, do you want me to go through and shout out those that have donated? Not shut out. We won't do that.
Yes, the
So
shouts.
I'm going to do that. So we've got, so these are the people that have contributed so far. We're almost 50% of our goal right now. I think we're $645 away from our 50% goal,
Woo-hoo.
which puts us about $5,000 from the total goal. And we've got 49 days left. And so that's pretty dang good. So first thing we want to do is thank you for contributing. So we've raised, I think, $3,300 on the or the Indiegogo page, and then another $1,000 offline. And so that's huge. So if you want to donate through the page or offline, it doesn't matter. It all goes to the same place. We're open to whatever works for you. And I've noticed that some people are saying the shipping overseas is ridiculous. Don't let that stop you. So we'll make it worthwhile on there. Hi, Rebecca French. We'll make it worthwhile. So I will, I just got a message that said I put spaces in it, but that's something else sidelined. So I'll quit looking at my messages for a minute. So I'm going to shout out those that have donated so far, and then we'll dive into the reading. And if you haven't gone to tortoiseshair.com, I'm going to pull that up here right there. tortoiseshair.com. That's where you can contribute. We still have 49 days to go. So we hope that after you listen to this story, that it will excite you even more. Because what the money is going to do, and I promise I'll get to the shout out, is going to pay for the illustrations, right? The editing of the book layout, and then print and distribution of the book. And so that's what this money is going towards. That's why it runs a little bit more initially when we're producing a book. But after we get it produced, it goes way down in price. So these initial books will be more, but you're also helping us to contribute to our campaign. So that's what that's about. So I'm going to shout out Laura Rose Lunt for her giant donation. Tana Madison, or Tana. You might have to help me with that. Tana Madison. Steve Hardison, his better half, Amy Hardison. So both the Hardisons donated quite a big amount. So they're actually going to have images in the book of them. So for their donation, they did over $1,000. So we're going to actually put an image that's customized for them in the book. Matt Evans, all the way from the UK, donated. Stephen Sinato, Angie Wolfley, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, which is awesome. Paula Hofer out of Canada. Thank you, Paula. Justin Lorette, who we work with in the RV industry, he bought. Brenda Rainier. So thank you. Thank you for your book. Nicole Bosniak from Australia. Thank you for your purchase. Saskia Snyder. She's got a large donation, so she'll have an acknowledgement in the back of the book on the acknowledgement page. Amy Morris. Thank you so much, Amy, for buying a book. And then Christy Broderick did a large package as well. So those are our donors so far. And then Guy and what's your mom's name? Jane. Yeah, Morris. So another large donation. They'll also get an image designated to them in the book. So they did over $1,000. So thank you so much. As we read this story, Ryan, anything else we need to share around that?
No, I think that was awesome. It was great.
Yeah.
Love you people.
We're just getting rolling. Well, yeah, I don't think we had this much activity on the first two Kickstarters that we did. Not even close.
Definitely not that fast. So that was great.
Definitely not an albatross. So if you would, in the comments as you're watching, shout out where you are in the world and let us know why you love this project. If you would do a little comment there, and I think you're going to love it even more after we read this. I have The Tortoise's Hair, and we're going to read through just a little bit of this. And I would invite you, as you listen to this story, kind of see yourself in the character of the book, and you can get a vision of what we're creating and why this is so impactful right now. So this is called The Tortoise's Hair. I wrote this at first in 8th grade. So I must have been, 13 when I wrote this. And then I rewrote it again in 2013 and added poetry and some other things to it to make it even more impactful. Frankie, what's up, Kyle? How are you? Frankie is the daughter. Hi, Laura. You didn't put spaces in the email. So just to clarify, that was me speaking it in. So The Tortoise's Hair by Nicholas Townsend Smith. You guys ready? Let's do it. So everybody knows that tortoises don't have hair. Well, not anymore, that is. But in a time in the far away past, turtles did have hair and a lot of it. Just know when I say turtles, I mean tortoises. That'll be adjusted. You see, in those days, the world was really cold and ice covered the land. As far as the eye could see was a blanket of white and blue. The turtles didn't mind, or the tortoises didn't mind the cold because their hair kept them warm. Another curious thing was that their shells were soft. None of them thought much of it because that is the way it had always been. Every tortoise was warm except for one, Frankie. She was not like the rest. She had no hair, none, nada, not even a tiny sliver of a hair, yet she was still beautiful. However, she felt out of place. She was the only one who had no hair. Her soft shell was exposed, and there was nothing she could do about it. Being different made Frankie sad. She knew she was different from all of the other tortoises, and they all knew she was different, and they made sure that they let her know that she was different. Many of them would call her names or point out what they considered to be flawed. Mainly, they made it a point to let her know that she was not like them and excluded her from just about everything they did. Often, Frankie considered running away. At one point, she wore a tortoise wig, to try and hide the fact that she had no hair, but everyone knew it wasn't real. She was jealous of the other tortoises. She wanted so bad to fit in and be like them, except for the being mean part. She was always anxious and nervous about going out in public because she was afraid of what the other tortoises would say and do. Frankie's shell began to harden. It hardened to deflect all the negativity she was experiencing on a daily basis. She got to a point where nothing anyone else said mattered. It was her internal conversations with which she struggled. Frankie's shell may have been hard, but inside her heart was still soft. Frankie wanted things to change. She did everything she could to learn about her differences. She read books and she talked with specialists. Tests were done and studies performed. None of them came to any solid conclusions about why Frankie was so different from everyone else. One day, one of the tortoises told Frankie about an ancient tortoise, a wise tortoise, a tortoise who might be able to help her get hair. Frankie was desperate and willing to try anything, and this gave her hope. Not only had another tortoise talked nicely with her, but they also gave her information that might help. She wanted so badly to fit in and was willing to do anything to make that dream a reality. Immediately, Frankie packed as many of her belongings as she could in her now hardened shell and set out on a journey that would change her life forever. All she knew was that she needed to follow the setting sun for 5 sunsets, and on the 5th sunset, she would see the home of the wise tortoise. About midway through the first day, Frankie came to a very large cliff. She could see the path on the other side, but between her and the other side was a huge gorge, and at the very bottom, a raging river. It appeared as though there was no way to cross. In front of her was a sign. She approached ever so carefully because the sign was right on the edge of the cliff, and she didn't want to fall. However, she also wanted to see if the sign might help her to figure out how to cross the chasm. Here's what the sign said. Many tortoises have approached this ledge, but only a few have passed. Those who left could only see and live within their past. If you want to go beyond, forget the times you cried, look at the world a bit differently to get to the other side. Look at the world differently, thought Frankie, but the past is all I know. Getting across the chasm seemed impossible to her. She was just a tortoise, and the cliff she faced seemed too difficult. She had a choice to make. Would she go back to the world she knew, or would she press forward, trusting that she could reach this wise one? See the world differently, she said silently. She wasn't even sure what that meant. She wondered how she could change her view. She saw a small hill nearby and decided to climb it and see if she could see the world differently. She climbed to the top and looked back at the path, the chasm, and the path on the other side. She noticed an ever so faint line from one path to the other. A bridge, she shouted. She ran back down and faithfully took one step out over the chasm where she saw the bridge. She didn't fall, so she took another step and another until she crossed to the other side. Her heart was pounding and beads of sweat built up on her forehead. She was so relieved to make it across. She saw the other sign, another sign, and quickly scurried to it. This is what it said. Sometimes to change what you see in life, change your point of view. This was just a simple test to show you what you can do. Frankie was so excited about what she had accomplished. She changed the way she looked at the problem, and that opened up possibilities. That one little choice allowed her to continue on her way. Dude, I get emotional reading these, but the sun set, and that was the end of the first day. Exhausted from the challenge, Frankie slept soundly that night. The sun was up early, as it always does, and a beam of light shone on Frankie's eyelids. The brightness and warmth calmly woke her. She yawned and stretched. Frankie noticed something peculiar. She noticed that the snow was melting slightly. In the world Frankie knew, the snow never melted, not even a little bit. She found that a bit odd. She had never seen the water before. The subtle drops from the melting snow and ice were the most beautiful things she had ever seen. She played with them and stared at them for a bit before realizing she still had something to do. Even though she had a goal to reach, she still took time to enjoy the simple beauty around her. Frankie set out on the path. This was the second day, and the sun had risen since she began her adventure. She wondered what other experiences she might have as she journeyed to meet this wise one. As she walked down the path, she noticed another tortoise walking toward her. Strange, she thought. That tortoise has no hair, just like me. The closer she got to it, the more familiar the other tortoise became. Another hairless tortoise. What are the odds? She asked herself. And why is she so familiar? It was then she realized it was not another tortoise. It was a reflection of herself. A giant mirror blocked the path from horizon to horizon. At first, she tried to find a way around it, but it wasn't possible. And it was much too high to climb over. She spent hours yelling at herself in the mirror, throwing rocks, and walking as far as she could one way and then another. Then she stopped on the path and looked at herself in the mirror, angry that she was stuck here, facing herself in some ridiculous mirror. She noticed another sign sitting next to the path. Frustrated, she wandered over to it, reading the sign aloud. Don't be angry with what you see. I'll get through these. It's part of the process too. You should know that there's someone to love, and that special someone is you. You have to go through, there's no way around. This mirror goes on for miles. The only things that will let you through are your heartfelt laughter and smiles. Frankie thought this sign was absurd. It was an obstacle. It was blocking her from seeing the wise one. She was in no mood to laugh or smile. Frustrated, she had to sit there facing herself, and she didn't like what she saw. She would look at herself and look away. She could not accept that she was hairless, and all the other tortoises were not. Damn, dude. So she could not accept that she was hairless and all the other tortoises were not. She didn't want to love such an ugly creature. She was mad, not happy. So she stuck her tongue out at herself. That made her laugh a little bit. She started making funny faces and laughed even harder. Then she heard it in her mind. The sign is not absurd. It's your self-image that's absurd. She started laughing out loud. She had a moment of discovery. She realized that she was the one choosing to be angry about her looks. She was the one choosing to be sad and choosing to be lonely and irritated and upset. She stopped everything and looked deeply at herself. It was the first time that she felt beautiful. She saw herself as beautiful. An enormous smile erupted on her face. Her striking white teeth shined bright in the sun. Then it happened. When Frankie decided to love herself just the way she was, her smile reflected the sun's rays onto a button on the mirror. It was unnoticeable before, but the light made it stand out unmistakably. She pushed it and the door opened. She would be able to continue her journey after all. As she crossed to the other side where she saw the next sign, this is what it read. When you decide to love yourself, no matter what others say, you'll be able to make it through life and troubles will get out of your way. Just then, the sun set. Another day had passed and Frankie slept through another night deeply. I'm going to pause right there. So otherwise I get too emotional. Some of these stories, they're downloads that come to me. They're stories that come through me. And so this is another one of those stories like the giants and the smalls. That's a message this time of self-worth and seeing our value within and expressing that. And so that's what we're creating. All of the imagery that you see, the character in the book, Ryan had up earlier, the character of the wise tortoise. They're designed to elicit the emotions that will help anchor in this message, because what I know about these messages is they'll carry on for your entire life. So when kids read these, they'll read it about themselves when they're young, and they'll develop the emotional acumen that they need to be able to carry that through life. And then as they read it again through adulthood and through development and share it with their kids and their grandkids, that's where this book and the other books like The Giants and the Smalls will have an impact for the rest of their lives. Our goal is to impact 100 million lives globally. And this book is one of the ways to do that. And so what we're asking you to do, there's a lot more to this story, and we'll come back and do this again, and maybe I'll get through without being choked up. But we'll read more of the book the next time we come on. And there's a lot more to go. You know, it's a longer read like The Giants and the Smalls. It's a valuable book. We want to make sure that it's the quality that our last book was. And what we're asking you to do on our Indiegogo campaign when you go to tortoiseshair.com is to contribute in any way that you can. And for some people, they can do that financially, and other people, they can't do it financially, but they can do it by sharing the message with somebody that can, or sharing it on social media, or doing a post or comment about it. And so the book is a beautiful story about self-worth, self-love, diving into our true value, which is inside of us. And that's the message we want to bring to the world. And so I'm loving the comments here. Thank you all for being on with us. Ryan had to jump off. He's working right now while we're doing this, and had to jump off to be with a customer. But go to tortoiseshair.com. There's a lot more to go. We'll come back and we'll do this again another time. But go to tortoiseshair.com, contribute in whatever way that you can contribute. And just know that we're grateful for you and we love you. And we hope that you'll help us make this story a success. So thanks for being on with me. Thanks for dealing with the emotions. Those are what are going on inside of me. And as always, we appreciate you, and we'll check you out. We'll come back and do this again. I thought he was crying. Yeah, he might have been, right? Thank you, Lori, for that comment there. Yeah, I'm just going to post these here. Yeah, the pictures are going to be beautiful. This is a sweet story. Thank you. Pixar better recognize, right, Alex? That's what I think. They better step up. Somebody's going to get it. Loving you guys. Thank you, Richard, all the way from the UK. And yeah, you guys, thank you so much for being on with us. Go to tortoiseshair.com. If you'd like to share this video, please do that. We'll do this again and continue the story. So when we pick up, we'll go into day 3 of Frankie's journey. So watch for that. So it'll probably be in a week or so, but we'll do another announcement. So thanks again for being on. I'll talk to you soon. Make it a giant day.